From the studio at 5600feet.com, it's the Trek Upward Radio Show. And we're on a roll. Do we have a show for you today? Tonight?
Oh, I love the music. Here we go.
Arthur, I need another one of us.
Hi, Gene.
Hey, we're back. We're back with some more information on Donald Trump and Megyn Kelly today. I pulled up both of their charts. Oh my God!
I'm into the music here, Gene. We're getting caught up here, just north of Yellowstone Park. Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, I know. Such a geek. Right, watch this. I have full control of this orchestra. Silence! Isn't that amazing? What you can do with radio.
You know, that's why I have a techie geek as a co-host.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm good at it. Yeah, for sure. You should see the pencils in my pocket. See them? Gene? Like, pencils in my pocket.
I had another co-host by the name of Terry Kennedy. He used to have like 15 pencils in his pocket.
Yeah, but he's an excellent singer. I have sung with Terry, and he knows his thing, and he uses all those pencils. He has a reason for every single one of those, Gene.
He labels his butter. Anyway, that's the whole nother story.
What does label your butter mean? Wait a minute.
It's a long story, and he'd have to be here, and we'll have him as a guest on our show really soon.
Oh, that sounds good. Butter. All right, the Trumpster. We're talking about the Trumpster again. What's up?
The Trump card, and he truly is a Trump card. You know, we were talking so much about him yesterday on our last show.
Oh, Donald. Yeah. My buddy.
I have to say, I pulled up Megyn Kelly's chart and Donald Trump's chart.
For those who don't know, Megyn Kelly, Fox News, right?
Megyn Kelly is from Fox News, and she was one of the commentators for the Republican debate that I truly believe Trump won. Now, you can, debate with me on all the things that I say here that you disagree with, and
I will debate you. That will be something that you do not have to worry about. I will take my stand, and I will stand for truth, justice, and the American way.
And, hey, that's the same stand that I'm on.
Yeah, that's right. We just come at it from different angles.
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Do you?
Just maybe a little naive when it comes to those things, right?
I'm very intuitive.
No, all right, okay.
Intuitive. As a matter of fact, that's what I do for a living.
Yes.
Intuitive stuff. Yeah. But you know what?
The queen of astrology.
There's a big difference between psychic and intuitive.
Who? You?
Yeah, I'm not psychic, but I'm very intuitive. No. And I have a mathematical equation to compare everything to.
I will witness to that, Gene. You are not psychic. You are intuitive.
So June 14th, 1946 at 10:54 a.m., Jamaica, New York is Donald Trump's birthday.
Wait. We got to stop. This was my issue from last show. How do we know that information's accurate?
Well, because I've read the chart, and everything that I see in the chart, I have compared to what he outpictures when he does his presentations in life.
Ah, okay, all right.
And the things that are going on in his world. I also have Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, well, we also know, too, that Obama actually fabricated his entire birth certificate.
Well,
we know that how. People are going to say, oh, no, that's not true.
But you know what?
What?
Donald Trump called him on that.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. Wait, I have to get this one out. It was Joe Arpaio, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Maricopa County in Arizona, did a formal investigation against that birth certificate, and it was found to be fraudulent.
I believe that, without a doubt, but I believe that Donald Trump's is accurate. And every time I did Obama's chart, and I have, believe me, been on his chart this whole time that he's been allowed to live in that White House.
Yeah, allowed to live in that White House. We need to find the people that really belong in that White House.
Exactly. That's why I said allowed to live in that White House.
Very good.
I can't even
believe
what
did you find? What do you got? What do you got?
The chart that I have of Obama does not fit. It does not fit.
There you go.
So that's why I know Donald Trump's chart is right, because I'm
first we have to change it to what, Nairobi or whatever it was, wherever he was born?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I don't know. So we'll never know what it is. It's probably got some kind of a spot. For those who are listening to this show and do not believe what I have just said, Look it up yourself. And
He's a
don't believe everything.
conspiracy theorist. I can't even say
No, I am a
conspiracy
conspiracy realist.
theorist.
No, I'm a realist.
He's
I
a
won't give you
realist.
theories. I won't give you theories. I'll give you stuff that's been absolutely corroborated.
Okay, well, you know, I am from the show me state, so show me, prove it. And Donald Trump's chart proves itself. And, you know, astrology is based on math, time, date, and place of birth. It doesn't have anything with intuitive, has nothing to do with psychic. It's based on math. I think that your astrology is perfectly designed with you, whoever you are, in mind. It's a roadmap to show you how to get through, maneuver through, drive through point A to point Z while you live on Great Planet Earth. Actually, planet Earth is not late.
Yeah, exactly.
It is great.
Well, I knew you had some good points about the Trumpster last show, and so, you know.
Well, I got to talk about Megyn and Donald because that's like the big deal right now. All of a sudden, last night, another person comes out of the woodwork and throws a stone at Donald Trump. He gets more stones thrown at him, but because he uses language that people can elaborate on and create their own scenario story through. And he said that Megyn had blood in her eyes and blood wherever. And it is true. When you looked at her face when she asked those questions to Donald, it was anger par excellence. You could see it all over her. Well, guess what? She's a Scorpio, for crying out loud. You know, they deal with so much anger, and all they live for on the dark side is to sting you. And if they can sting you, they will. And she stung him pretty bad. But he was so calm in the stung. It's like he doesn't feel any pain. He took it like a man.
He's not
and
numb.
because he is a man.
And I hope he's not numb.
And, you know, Megyn's chart, let's see, I have her at November 18th, 1970 at 4 o'clock a.m. in Syracuse, New York. Now, I did 4 o'clock. I did what's called a rectification on the time of birth. And the reason is Libras are people pleasers. They say what they think the people want to hear, and they are beautiful at it. And they usually look very beautiful because they're ruled by the planet Venus, and Venus is good looking. She's a blonde, she's gorgeous, she's a smooth talker. And so, you know, I actually think that except for the Saturn square midheaven between both of their charts, they would actually be really good friends, except for Gemini and Scorpio clash. You know, Donald's in his head. He's like thinking, oh, how can I make this funny? Or how can I use this to mentally do some calisthenics to, you know, make the greatest good out of this interaction of talk. And Megyn's like, how can I get him? How can I sting him? How can I?
Well, see, you know, she's like a lot of the other reporters that are out there, and you know, don't call me a conspiracy theorist. I know this for a fact, and we'll present, you know, information and point you in the right direction. So, like I said, you can do your own research. But, you know, let's face it, she's a mouthpiece for Fox News, and we get a very guarded message, not only from Fox, but also CNN, MSNBC.
So, it sounds so contrived. I do believe you there. I do believe that everything that the news is putting out right now is totally bought. I don't know who is behind the purchase, but, you know, they're all equally going after Donald Trump, and they're not letting him make his political statements. If you want to hear what Donald Trump is all about, you've got to go to YouTube to hear it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty typical of, you know, listen to shows like ours, or, you know, listen to some of the other shows.
Right.
You know, like Alex Jones, or somebody who's a little more, you know, aggressive with their approaches. But, you know, there's a lot of good information. I'm not saying that all of it is accurate, but I can tell you from my research over the last 25 years on all this stuff, there are places and some that are accurate, and there is a lot of misinformation out there.
You've been researching Donald Trump for the last 25 years?
Yeah, me and the Trumpster go way back. No, actually...
Yeah, he could have been around in the John Adams day. You know, he could be reincarnated, great, you know, president strength.
No, I doubt that.
He's got muscle, and, you know, that's what our country needs.
Roly-poly kind of guy, you know.
You know, we had...
I'm carrying a couple extra pounds, if that helps, you know, so, but...
We need muscle. You know, we've had 8 years of no muscle and all flap.
Right.
Now Donald Trump comes and he's scaring the tar out of everyone because he's actually making people stand up and salute him.
I don't know. I think it's time to throw the tea into the harbor. What do you say, Gene?
He's throwing the tea into the harbor. Not only is he throwing the tea in the harbor, he's taking all these no backbone politicians, big talking whatever, and he's throwing them in the harbor too.
Well, you know what? I got to say something. You made mention to John Adams, right? John Adams was actually the founding father that actually put together the legal arguments that ended up being in the Declaration of Independence. So John Adams was a lawyer at that time, and he actually did the research to find out what was going to work as far as the colonies being able to establish the legal precedents to break from Britain.
When you're still at it today.
Yeah.
I truly believe that you are an incarnation of John Adams, just so our listening audience knows what the heck we're talking about. And how do I know that? There's a footprint that you leave in every life. And if you want to do a little research on finding who is who in the realm of the famous world, go to Franklin Roosevelt and then look at President Clinton. Go to Eleanor Roosevelt and look at Chelsea Clinton. I mean, it's amazing.
I got one for you.
Who?
Go look at John Wayne and Sitting Bull.
Sitting Bull and John Wayne.
Then
These are all the same souls. And if you just look at these pictures and you meditate a little bit on who the soul is, just close your eyes and go, then look at the picture again, you're going to see the connection. Reincarnation happens over and over again. And where you left off in your last life is where you're going to start in this life. So you might as well start making some good decisions. Now, I think Donald Trump has been on the front line of, you talk about General Patton. I'd like to know what year General Patton died and I do know that Donald Trump reincarnated in 1946. So what year did Patton die?
We can find this out.
Gene,
go ahead. And I've got the world at my fingertips right here.
I hope you're fast with your fingers. And I'll continue to talk about Megyn and Donald. Megyn's Saturn squares his midheaven. So I think he brings up father issues in her. And she's got some issues with her father, so it makes her mad. You found out?
I did. See, technology right at your fingertips. Anything you can say. Hey, we have all this technology.
Okay.
Imagine somebody from 1959 looking at this, and we say to him, look, we have a little device in the palm of our hands that allows us to send and have arguments with absolute strangers and send pictures back and forth with cats and dogs.
Okay, wait. Patton, when did he die?
December 21st, 1945, at the age of 60.
Oh, my God.
You might be onto something.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and in fact, they believe that, here we go with the theorists, they believe that Patton was taken out because of his stand against the Russians, the Soviets, at the time.
Oh, my God. And, he's taking a stand on China and Russia now. Oh, my God. Donald Trump, General Patton, same soul. Look at the pictures. Look at the pictures. It's just
really interesting. That's funny. He's got the same kind of... Patton was disliked because he was extremely brazen, and he said...
Yeah.
He said, now see, I'm a Patton fan, Gene. You just tapped a nerve here.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Let me tell you, you could be onto something here. Let me tell you about George Patton, and if anybody hasn't seen this, you got to see the movie Patton, okay? All right, I got some stuff about Patton. You got to hear this. Okay, for those who have not seen the movie Patton, all right, Patton is great. George C. Scott plays it. He's not quite the same character that Patton was because Patton had a really high voice. So it's interesting if you check out some of his things. But he did not withhold. He did not like the Soviets. He did not like anybody that was contrary to what was going on. He knew that the politicians were basically, he said in that movie, and it was a quote from Patton, he said that, the politicians stop and leave us short to fight another war, which is exactly what's been going on.
I'm telling you, Donald Trump is a reincarnation of General Patton. I'm telling you.
That's funny.
You can look at the charts and you see the similarity.
I'm going to have to check this out, Gene. You've got me on this, but that's interesting. If you look at his picture, I'm looking at his picture right now.
History repeats itself over time. Now,
I do see some resemblance.
Yep.
Yeah, he would. Well, I'll tell you what. Patton. They believe that Patton might have been bumped off because he was so
And that's my biggest worry with Donald Trump. I'm so afraid that somebody's going to come along and shoot him because he is, so. And I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he's got so many bodyguards that nothing can touch him.
Can you see any indicators in a chart that would tell you that, or potential that like that?
Yeah, there are. He doesn't have any Pluto square Mars, and I looked for that immediately, which is criminal behavior coming at him, or Uranus square Mars, which means, assassins coming at you. But, what he does have is Saturn square ascendant, which means that people are trying to block his presence. The ascendant is how you present yourself to the world, how people see you. Saturn is that cold planet that blocks and gets in the way and makes you follow the rules. He doesn't want to follow the rules. They're trying to stuff the rules down his throat. What he wants to do is expose the truth. He wants to take accountability, responsibility, make America great again. And, he's got my vote at this point. He has, I look at his astrology and I'm telling you, the goods are real. He's really what he says he is. He's a diamond in the rough. He just needs to learn how to control flippant.
All right. Now, here's the stand that I'm going to take on this. A person isn't necessarily their astrology. I mean, they've got the free will.
No,
we've talked about this.
Absolutely.
And so, they may have a good potential or something like that, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they're actually out picturing the positive God qualities that they could. So we don't know which way this guy's going to turn. Again, you go back.
Yeah, you do. You can make an assessment.
You've got free will.
You have free will choice, but you also have to have the energy to make free will choice. In other words, planets have to align themselves to give you the opportunity to react to a certain subject. The certain subjects that you're talking about, he does not have in his chart, so he's not going to be doing that.
All right.
He doesn't have a secret anywhere in his chart.
Yeah, but what my point is that you just do not know which way a person's going to go, and I can tell you, there was
if
one where... If a
person's going to go criminal, he's going to have a choice to be charismatic or criminal, and that will present itself. The opportunity will present himself, and he chooses it, and you can see that in the chart, what the choices are going to be, what the subject is going to be. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Good example. O.J. Simpson, very highly revered.
Hey, I saw it in his chart. I predicted right immediately that he.
Did you really?
That he and I could, at the time that death took place was 11 in the evening. I did a ton of radio shows on this.
Wow.
And it was at 11 in the evening. It showed up actually in both of their charts as an opportunity. It was a Pluto square Mars square Pluto, out of the 8th house in her chart. And in his chart, it was out of the 11th house, a sudden, blow up.
Okay, but I still stand that, free will choice, and I still stand with the violet flame and applying spiritual spiritual procedures and spiritual things to it. You can change your astrology.
Absolutely, but you've got to have a certain road that you're going to walk down no matter what in your astrology, and it's going to present certain opportunities for you as you go down that road in life. And some of these opportunities that you're talking about and you expect Donald Trump to do, he doesn't have them in his chart. And so those subjects are not an issue. And if they were an issue, it would show up, and then he can make the free will choice to be or not to be, and that is the question. Hopefully he would take the high road if he had those astrology. What he does have is the Saturn square ascendant. That's where he gets to make a free will choice. People are blocking him because he comes on so strong. He's a drama king. He's strong. He's muscle. He's been fighting before. In fact, he left his last life fighting. General Patton was he got killed.
Now this is interesting. Okay, let's go back to Patton.
And that shows in his chart as Mars on his ascendant.
Did you look at Patton's chart?
I'm looking at Donald's chart right now.
I think we should look at Patton's chart.
Well, I will for the next show.
Now, come on, it's technology. Bring it up. I'm interested. I want to hear what happened.
Well, I don't know. Okay, you go see if you can get the time, date, and place of General Patton. I'll probably have to do some research to get the chart.
Yeah, I would suspect. Anyway, but the point is if we're onto something here, and it's actually is Patton. Let me tell you some other things that could be parallels. George Patton was ridiculed by constantly the press. He was constantly ridiculed.
Welcome to Donald Trump's world.
By his bosses. He was constantly ridiculed by those that were in the positions of political power.
Yep.
So it was...
History repeats itself.
But he was the best field general that we ever had, and the Germans were absolutely afraid of the man.
Well, a lot of people are afraid of him. But hey, he's a hero. I'm telling you. The first time I looked at him, I felt that way. It's like I was looking at somebody who's a diamond in the rough. He's a diamond in the rough. And I saw it. I saw it in his world intuitively that he was a hero.
All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. The Queen of Astrology, Jean Hart, has now predicted possibly that George S. Patton Jr. is reincarnated as Donald Trump.
And if you don't believe me, meditate on the two pictures. Furthermore, look at Franklin Roosevelt, look at President Clinton, look at Chelsea Clinton, and look at Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah, and don't believe psychics, please, because psychics came back.
No, I want you to prove this. You can prove this yourself. You have a higher self. You have a still small voice in the back of your head. You've got an attunement.
I had a psychic tell me, Gene, that I was actually reincarnated as John Hancock.
Brother.
Yeah. Now, that was really weird stuff at that time. But it could have been. Now, see, this is where psychicism is, and I didn't expect to get on this topic today, but we're going there. Is that psychics will drop these hints, and then you sit there and you meditate or think about these things, and it takes you away from what you should be doing, your divine plan, your divine direction, and it's a time waster, and it's a plot by the forces of darkness to get you to move in that direction. So,
well, here's a simpler way to say that. In other words, if some psychic tells you you're going to have your gallbladder removed, you're going to spend 5 years worrying about whether the gallbladder is going to be removed or not. You got better things to do.
And then you, by that energy put on it, could potentially create the situation. What did they say in the biblical text that said something about, I worried about it, and I feared that would come upon me, and it did.
Well, it's called aggressive mental suggestion.
Good point. Aggressive mental suggestion.
That means that you can think something about somebody else very strongly, and then you can tell them what you think, and they believe it because you have aggressively put that suggestion in their mental world.
So, which would lead one to believe that if you do approach this correctly with the right approach, the right thinking, the right level of spiritual attunement and attainment, you can change what it is prophesied in your astrology, correct?
Absolutely. You can change anything. Nothing is written in stone. Isn't that why King Arthur pulled the sword out of this stone?
That's right. Well, you know where the Excalibur thing came from, right?
Tell us.
You know the story of Excalibur?
Oh,
and the Lady of the Lake? The Lady of the Lake.
Go ahead. Yeah, I know about the Lady of the Lake.
All right, the Lady of the Lake, King Arthur days. Merlin, the magician, knew that King Arthur was to lead, he was supposed to lead Camelot and was to bring this, and there were a lot of challengers for that spot in the kingdom. So the way that he did this was Merlin had come up with the plan of taking the Excalibur sword, which had come from the Lady of the Lake, and to put it in the stone so that it had to be pulled out. And, of course, the only person who could pull that out was King Arthur. And
why? Because he was so pure, he was innocent, and in your innocence is where your inner sense is. So he knew instinctively how to do it, which, let me tell you, Donald Trump has that osmosis ability instinct. It's like genius in his chart. I was talking about that last show that we did.
So, hence, Excalibur and Arthur became one.
And we love King Arthur. He was an amazing history writer.
Absolutely, absolutely. But now you got me on this Patton thing, because Patton, of all the generals, I'm a World War II and contemporary history buff, of all the generals, was the most. Oh, yes, Patton also believed in reincarnation. And he was the best general that we had. He was the best field general we had.
Well, I tell you what, he's going to be the best president we've ever had, too, simply because he's got muscle. He's not afraid to say no to those who everybody else caters to.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some that are going to argue, and they're going to, they may say Brad.
He's up a storm, and he's got Saturn square his ascendant for, the rest of the summer into end of September. So this kind of cat fighting is going to continue through September, and then it'll back off. So, and maybe at that point he'll be seen for who he truly is.
Did you okay? Did you see anything as far as timing or stuff that may come out where there might be revelation as a result of him going forward, like a breaking of this secrecy over the truth related to media or the press, or I mean, do you see any kind of a
Yeah.
turn or anything
Uranus is sitting in his ninth house, which rules the press, quite frankly.
There we go.
And Uranus is at 20 degrees going retrograde right now, so he's going back over all of these attacks right now, and then he has Uranus trine his Mars. Then it gets Uranus sextile Uranus in October, so I think October, he'll get to a point where he's able to, I don't know if you want to say he can handle, he's not going to get so taken out of context in a negative way. It'll be more in a positive way, but he'll still have that strength. He won't have any trouble, I don't think, until about November 8th when Uranus opposes his Jupiter. And his Jupiter is right on the house cusp of the second and third house. So that, again, is communications, too much communication. What we should do is a commercial right now. What do you think, Arthur?
I think that's a great idea. Jean, how can people get in touch with you?
First of all, I want you, the listening audience, if you've got a topic that you think is interesting that you want us to look at and you want to say a few words about it, we want you on our show. We want you to get a hold of us and let us know what it is that you have. So go to our website at studio at 5600feet.com.
That's right.
The TrekUpwardRadioshow.com. And just fill out a contact form and tell us what your subject is, and we will get back with you. And we can't wait to hear what you have to say. Furthermore, if you want to get your astrology done, please go to my website at astrologyjeanhart.com and contact me. And I would love to take your time, date, and place of birth. And if you happen to have a past life like Donald Trump, I have to tell you something, Arthur. My husband's favorite show is Patton. I mean, he watches that show like every other month, and it's like every time he does, I know what that means. That means he does not want to hang out with his wife, so I have to go, find something to do.
Don't take any bad things about this, Gene. It has nothing to do with you, but I don't think any guy wants to sit around and watch, Barbie go shopping, with Reese Witherspoon either. So.
Barbie gosh, is that a new movie she's done?
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know. I do like Reese, but I didn't know she had done.
My point. Or watch some testosterone-filled, thing like Expendables 3. I mean, it's so.
I don't think I've seen that one.
All the guys out there listening to this know what I am talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, That's quite
all right. Yeah, don't feel bad about this, but. For those that don't know, I mean, we kid about this, and Patton is a good story. It's a great movie, and he does believe in reincarnation, and they actually have a couple really good scenes in the movie related to that.
Well, I'm a crusader for a cause, and I want to prove reincarnation, and excuse that P. But I want to prove reincarnation. Donald Trump.
Well, let me tell you.
Okay, a great example.
I can tell you for a fact, the only way that I could prove it, people will say, have we been reincarnated? Oh, I think you're full of it. And, our churches and everything else tell us that you're not. And I'm here to tell you and witness to you that reincarnation is real. I have seen my one past life and the past life that I had. So you can say, well, how do you do that? Was it something mental or whatever the case is? It doesn't matter. It was shown to me. I know I was there.
Well, you know what? I didn't know that you were that person, but when I looked at John Adams' picture, I went, oh, my God, there's Arthur. I knew instantly that you two were the same soul. As I know that Donald Trump and Patton are the same soul. As I know Franklin Roosevelt and President Clinton are the same soul. As I know Chelsea is the same soul as Eleanor.
Now, see, I don't know about that, but I do know that I did fly a torpedo bomber in World War II in the Battle of Midway. I know that for a fact. I was there. I saw it. I felt it. I was there. I was in the plane.
And anybody can get access to that kind of information. I mean, if you just, it's all written in your inward parts, your gut feelings, your hunches. When you're watching a movie, for instance, and you really identify with the clothing and it's something from the past and you just like fall in love. Like I love the Egyptian things that everybody wore back then, the way the senators dressed in their sandals and their little skirts. But I love the the way the women especially dressed. They wore these beautiful long gowns, and they always just looked so flowing.
Yeah, with their little laurel wreaths in
And
their
so
hair.
I know that I was embodied back then. And
Well, I don't know, Gene. I'll tell you one way or the other. But why that may or may not be important to know who it was is just because you bring forward momentums from different times of your life. And I know that the teachings, for example, from the Ascended Masters talk about that when you are ready and you've done enough spiritual...
Who's the Ascended Masters?
Those are guys that actually graduated from Earth's schoolroom. Let's put it another way. There's another term for it, too. It's the saints robed in white, okay? There's other terms for it. Those are the elder brothers on the path. Those are the ones that actually have demonstrated that they've gone back and graduated from our schoolroom and gone on. A common phrase is ascended masters. Those
they were like you and I, and they.
Yeah. These guys ascended from all sorts of different places. We hear all sorts of different stories. Good books, point you in the right direction. Dweller on Two Planets, Brother of the Third Degree by Will Garver. I mean, there's all sorts of information out there.
Brotherhood of the Third Degree by Will Garver. What an amazing book.
Yeah, Brother of the Third Degree. That one is awesome. In fact, how
about Dweller on Two Planets?
That's heavy.
Dweller on Two Planets by Philos. But I think that's the book that really made me understand what's the point of reincarnation. History repeats itself over and over again.
Yeah, so what is the reason for all this reincarnation and all these other kind of things? Is so that we figure it out, move on.
The goal of life is to graduate. That only makes sense that we have to have something to reach for.
So the goal of life is?
To graduate, to make your ascension, to become an ascended master.
Okay.
And the only way you can do that is to get self-mastery. So everything that you do in life, you have to make the right choice.
And cups of tea every once in a while. See, my cup says believe on it. You can't see it out there in Radio Land, but it says believe.
It's more than belief, because I tell you, everything that I do wrong, I get an instant boomerang. It's like it's back at my doorstep in a New York second, and I got to deal with it.
Right.
So that tells me something right there. That
I am your karma, looking at you right here.
Karma. Yeah, you got to balance your karma. Those are your debts in life. And I don't think there are accidents in life. I think that everybody that you see in your life are people that, you've got some sort of assignment to work out some sort of situation with. Else you would not see them, because no two people see the same people. No two people have the same experiences. No two people, I don't know. I just think we have these unique paths that we walk, and astrology shows me that where the obstacles are to become an ascended master.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a whole bunch of stuff you got to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Mental calisthenics. You got to work on water like Peter did.
Back to Patton and Trump, okay? I am totally intrigued by this. You have got I want to see this and what you would do. Are there indicators in astrology that are going to show you that this could be a potential situation, where that could have been his last embodiment?
Absolutely. Here's a good story for you. My father and I used to talk about reincarnation all the time. Okay, I had the great honor of serving him in the last 6 months of his life. He died at home. I was there. And we talked about, what he saw on the other side, because sometimes he'd go out of his body and he'd come back in. And I'd ask him if he'd seen anything on the other side, if he saw his friends, if he saw angels or whatever, because, again, he's in the process of dying. He was making his transition, so he was in and out of his body. And I was trying to focus, him to kind of remember these things, and so he did pass from the screen of life, and it was an amazing feeling. I felt this great light in the room when he passed. And then, I'm not kidding, it is 10 years later, my father reincarnates. How do I know that? I looked at, my niece had a baby, and it's the perfect situation. She's going to be an engineer. My father was an engineer. His father in this life is a race car driver. My father was a race car driver. He put together Indy 500 cars.
Wow.
He was, totally into this. So, I mean, the whole scenario that this little baby came into was exactly my dad's story. But the thing about it was that when I looked into his eyes, the first time I ever saw him, it was in a nano of a second. I knew who he was instantly. It's just like knowing, every time you call Arthur, I know who you are because I've talked to you a million times, So I knew him instantly. There was no hesitation. So it's amazing watching him grow up now, again, although he's not that old yet.
Wow. That's kind of a cool story.
So, if you're old enough, and you've had people who have made their transitions in your family, look at them when they have new babies. Look at the new babies and see if you can find any sort of connection. And it's amazing. Here's the crux of my father. I pulled the chart of when he was born, and I had his chart from his last life. Oh, my God. Same stuff. He left off. I hate to say this about my dad because I totally love him. He was a very good man. He made a bad mistake. He was having an affair in his end days with somebody other than my mother. And, he had a little that kind of a side to him. I think it was put upon him by the bombardment of that kind of thing through the television and stuff. He picked up on it, had an affair, and he embodied with something he didn't have in his last life, which was a Pluto square Venus, which means affair stuff. So my point is that where you leave off in your last life is where you'll start. And that means where you leave off in the realm of where you're making mistakes, you bet that's going to be a big indicator in the next life in your chart. So where it's hard in your astrology in this life, you bet you did something wrong in the last life and you need to be accountable for it in this life. It's kind of amazing. So you want to be an ascended master, that's what you do. You look for the hard stuff in your chart that challenges you to come up higher. And we're going up higher. This planet has to go up higher or we're going to lose it.
Yeah, that little music you heard there was me pulling up George Patton's birth information, and accidentally something started playing right away here. But Gene, I think you're onto something. I'm looking at two pictures here, and I'm telling you, they look like dead ringers.
I know.
I think you're onto something.
Hey, I know I am.
I'm gonna send a couple of pictures to you. So I'm looking for. He was born. This is what I can tell you. He was born November 11th, 1885, in San Gabriel, California. Right? I don't have an exact time.
Give me that data again.
Yeah, it's November 11th, 1885, in San Gabriel, California. So I don't
the funny thing about it is he would have been a Scorpio in his last life. The funny thing about it is he fought with the media. So in this life, he comes in as a talker. Gemini. It's very interesting.
Well, he was a talker, and he got himself into trouble on a couple of occasions where he was in front of the press, and he was very verbal. He never really held back, and so you can see similarities in this, and that's what really ticked off the politicians.
Well, in astrology, the past is ruled by the fourth house. Guess what sign is on his fourth house cusp?
Scorpio.
Scorpio.
Oh, wow.
So, I know. Isn't that amazing? I love astrology.
This is really cool, and this is why I like doing this radio show, because, everybody, you get such good hints about what it is you should be doing. Everybody has a divine plan. We can fulfill it. And talk to Jean. Find out what your stuff is. She'll be able to give you a help and assistance as to what your challenges and what your opportunities and what your pros and cons are, and how to address and put your spiritual energy to making yourself better, and to be able to rise up and to get to the same place of those guys that we were talking about, the Ascended Masters. It's possible, and I will tell you, as God is my witness, and what we did, if it wasn't for astrology, I wouldn't have been able to make the progress that I did this lifetime. And it's not something to be feared, but it is if it's in the wrong hands. It's like anything else. And it's like it becomes...
Well, it's based on math.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that.
But this is the thing that people don't know about you, Gene. I mean, if we've got a lot of Christian fundamentalists that may say, knee-jerk reaction, astrology is bad. But you got to remember, the three wise men were astrologers. It was
They say it's bad because they haven't done their homework.
Exactly.
And they've been programmed. We are walking, talking computers. We're easy to be programmed, and we get programmed when we're little kids.
Yep. And you also, pick up the newspaper. You see, an astrological thing for Tauruses and how many gazillion Tauruses are there in the world. And, so you look at that kind of stuff, and
That's
it's not.
nonsense. That's not
But
astrology.
if you have accurate birth information, and even if you don't, Gene can help you find it. And to be able to find this out, and I will tell you, knowing your challenges, knowing your opportunities, knowing your possibilities, knowing your potentials, it far outweighs not having that information available. So that's my little speech there, Gene, for you. And I can tell you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for understanding that and having somebody like you that knows how to interpret it correctly.
Astrology, GeneHart.com. Astrology, GeneHart.com.
How was that? That was a commercial for you, Gene. All right, I am so intrigued by this that I'm going to do research on this and find out what the story is. But you've got me now talking about this, and this is something that's
This is why I love Trump. Donald Trump. He is a Trump card, and he's got a mission, and his mission last embodiment was cut short, while he was in the process of saving America and saving the world. He's back again to do it. And
yeah,
I want him as president.
What was interesting about this is we start to follow it down. It appears.
Arthur,
what?
Patton wasn't someone who was, taking his elbow and rubbing it with all those.
Oh, here we go.
Who are those guys? That you always talk about Who are they?
The Illuminati, the One World Order.
Yeah, I mean that's why he got taken out, because he didn't fall.
That is absolutely correct. He was not a politician. Whereas if you had somebody that was more like
Donald's not a politician, but look what he's doing. He sees there's a need, and he's stepping up to the plate. What a great thing to do.
George Patton took the Third Army and marched across France and literally cleared France. And for anybody who knows anything about World War II, there was also something called the Battle of the Bulge, and it was his Third Army that stopped, turned, and freed those guys that had actually been surrounded up at Bastogne. But the point was he was headed well into Germany. He was about to take Germany, and he was ordered to stop so that the Russians could come in. And then what happened from that point on, because he knew what was potentially going to happen with them, and the rest is history. Berlin got created. They put walls up around Berlin. They blocked it off, and there was a Berlin airlift in the 50s. I mean, he had the red threat down and nailed it and knew that communism was not what's supposed to go on. So rubbing elbows with these guys is not the right thing to do, and he knew it at the time. I suspect that if he is this soul, I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're in for. He's going to be up against that kind of thing, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of stand he takes with China.
I put my trust in him. I think he's got the strength to do it.
All right, okay. Donald Trump is now on the watch list here for me, and I'm going to see what goes on with it. So this is very intriguing, and it happened here first, the Trek Upward radio show.
That's right. It happened here first.
That happened here first. So this is good. But going back to Megyn Kelly, let me ask you about Megyn, because you were looking at her chart. You said that the two of these guys could actually be friends at some point, or potentially.
Well, I doubt it. Saturn's right in the way. They have karma with each other. So I would imagine that Megyn was one of those, news commentators back there in the days of Patton. Here they are again, trying to, All
right, now we're going to have to start looking for Patton Circle and find out who this person was.
Absolutely. And, we'll be able to find it. If we can find enough pictures of the media that was encircling his camp, we'll probably find her.
But the one thing that I haven't seen from Trump yet that I do know about Patton is that Patton, I'm telling you, it was red, white, and blue. He knew what was right. He knew what was wrong. He knew that he had been a fighter in many lifetimes. He knew that he had been on battlefields. In fact, he wrote, his own poetry related to reincarnation. He knew, and he was a fighter. You don't think
Donald Trump's fighting for his life right now? Oh my God!
What I'm not seeing is the stand that Patton took. I haven't.
You're not
seen
watching them. You need to watch.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to see. So I want to see if he's going to take that whole stand. And trust me, I have.
He's an American through and through, and he's so patriotic. I love it. He will make America great again.
Exactly. I've made many, many, many calls to God and said, God, where is George S. Patton when we need him?
Well, you know what? I've made many calls for somebody just to come with the muscle, to bring us back. Because, I'm sorry to say this about Obama, but he took us into a very, very, very bad place and is still doing it. It's almost like he's trying to get as much of that done, taking us backwards before he gets out of office. And it's almost like he's on an accelerated path to destroy America. And I'm sorry, nothing against Obama, except for that. Hey.
Well, except for that. But here's the problem, Gene, that I don't think, we talk about concepts like the Ascended Masters. Here's another one. Because of the media influence that we have had, people do not know what has happened related to the government. They think that we have a two-party system, but they don't understand that it's two sides of the same bad penny. It's been preset. These guys have been doing it, and it's been going ever since right after World War II. And the Kennedy assassination was the first coup d'etat that occurred as a result of this. Anybody who might not think that this is clear, I offer one thing to you. If you believe it or don't believe it, whatever. Just look at, if anybody has Netflix, check out Dark Legacy.
Dark Legacy? That's a movie?
Legacy.
Who's
yes,
that?
In fact, I notified you today about this one.
Who's in it?
What it is, it's an analysis of the Bush family, the CIA, and what happened back starting at World War II with Prescott Bush, who was the grandfather, and his ties to the Nazis.
It's scary.
It is scary. So
is this a movie or is this a documentary?
Both. It's a very well done, although a lot of the evidence is circumstantial, but it has been validated later on. And so this came out some years ago. Frankly, I'm surprised it's still on Netflix that you could see this kind of thing. But anyway, check it out, Dark Legacy. And then
we'll talk about it on our next show and see exactly.
Oh boy, I'll tell you.
This will expose Arthur. We will see just who you are, Arthur. Where you put your consciousness is who you are.
Throw the tea in the harbor. Which I found out, by the way, when I looked this one up too, that the Indians and all the guys that dressed up of it was nothing but let's put it this way, it was a patriot fraternity party. Is basically what it was. The guys were all three sheets to the wind. They were all just, a lot of them were drunk. They were all over the place, and they just went out in Boston Harbor and had a good time throwing tea in the harbor.
Do you think it would be helpful if people could remember their past lives?
I think in some cases it can be, but I think a lot of times it can be.
Then why can't we? That's the one thing is why I think about this a lot. It's like, why do I have to work so hard to get this information inside of me?
All right.
Why can't I just remember what I did yesterday?
Here's the thing that I believe is the case. In these cases where we really need to know, it's a burden. But I can tell you there are probably many, 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 many more times where we don't want to remember what happened.
Well, that's true. I might interfere with murders right now.
Events that occurred,
right.
Headings, accidents, things that may have occurred before, and it's a blessing that we do not know, and we come in with each life with a clean slate.
Right.
So, that's my take on it.
Kind of deep.
But what happened was, and we talk about this one that popped up this past life for me, was I was doing a lot of spiritual work. I was doing a lot of what they call the violet flame, which is invoking the spiritual energy to cleanse and purify old records that I may have had, these things from past lifetimes, and it came up of its own accord. It wasn't a psychic thing that caused it to happen. It wasn't somebody telling me that this was the case. It gently came up when I was ready to accept it.
Well, that's pretty cool. Back to Donald Trump or George Patton.
Okay. So, yeah,
I got to say something here on Megyn Kelly's chart. The night of the debate, she had her moon at the beginning of the 8th house.
Okay.
The 8th house is the proverbial PMS house. I mean, it usually makes us a lot more obsessive, makes us, sting a lot more, especially if you're a Scorpio. So I just think
his comment about having her having blood in her eyes was probably not too far from the truth.
no, it was very much the truth. But the sad thing is that they took his words and made them kind of worse than they were. He didn't really, and looking at Donald Trump, I can say, looking at Donald Trump's chart, I can say with full confidence that he did not mean that like that. Hormonal.
That happened to Patton all the time.
But you know what? She was. I'm a woman, and I'll say it. She was hormonal. And, I'm looking at her astrology, so I know it's a fact.
Okay. So we have one hormonal woman against a possible reincarnation of George S. Patton, sitting there trying to figure this out, and by golly, she's gonna make sure that he's not gonna stand there and stand for America.
Yeah, but that's like going up against, oh my God, you don't go up against George Patton. He's like one of the strongest men ever. He's got things to do, people to see, places to go. He's got business.
Okay.
He's got $10 billion in his bank account. He's got business to do. He's focused.
I'll tell you one thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a call out there to Almighty God, and I'm going to say, if it is God's will in the name of Jesus, please give us the truth related to this so that we know what's going on. Nevertheless, not a word.
Well,
boom.
I'm telling you, it came from my higher self, so whatever. I'm going to trust that still small voice in the back of my head like no other.
Okay. Now, here's the thing, all right? Let's talk John Adams here for a minute. John Adams and 3 other people actually penned the Declaration of Independence. We know that Thomas Jefferson actually did the physical writing of the document. And John Adams, according to what I have read in his biography and stuff, actually said that he wanted Jefferson to write it, and so did the other 2 authors of the Declaration of Independence, that they wanted Adams to actually do it. But Adams said no, he wanted Jefferson to actually pen the document. So it's interesting that he did that. But what the point was he was the one that was leading the nation at the time in the Revolution. So at that time, Patton led the army, the Third Army, through France for the final defeat of the Nazis. Okay, we know that for a fact. And so, if that is the case, we want to call and ask for that momentum to come forth, so that we can win that victory again.
Call
for
who?
Both of these goals.
Call who?
You can call to your higher self. You can call to God. You can actually agree together for action. You can do spiritual work on this. You can do mantra. You can do prayer. You can do call work on this. You can write letters and burn them.
Oh, I forgot. You've got that website. What's that called again? Prophecy?
Prophecyisgiven.com. Thank you, Jim.
Now that shows how to make the call that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and for those that may not, understand some of the concepts that we're talking about, there's an introductory series out there of blogs, postings, a 9-part series there that should give you a good idea of what's going on and some different things. It's not light reading, but it should get you started. So it's out there. Prophecyisgiven.com.
So that gives you technique, right? It shows you how to step by step.
What the calls are and how this works. And
so a novice, somebody who doesn't know anything about how to say a prayer,
right? And what kind of rules are and how the bad guys are playing the story, because all of this is condemnation.
I gotta go read that.
Yeah, check it out.
I gotta go read that. I haven't had a chance to get to that website, prophecyisgiven.com. I want to do that. So
what we'll do, and if you would like to, we'll actually be updating that website with actual prayers and things you can do on your own and agree together for certain actions to take, and you'll see some interesting stories there. And we're actually in the process of compiling a series of stories that have happened to me over the last 30 years for the actions that these things have done in people's lives. It's quite cool. So, yeah.
Okay, well, for the next show, I think we ought to start wrapping it up now. And for the next...
Oh, come on, Gene, we're on a roll. I'm ready here.
Okay, well, I mean, so there's so much to say about Donald Trump, George Patton, Megyn Kelly, and whoever she was, and that whole circle of people. There's so much to say about what we need to do for America to make it a great place again and a safe place again. There's so many things to say about how to pray, how to chant, how to make connection with your higher self, how to even know what is the right part of you and what is the wrong part of you. I've read this book called The Enemy Within by Elizabeth Clare Prophet, and it talks about what's called the dweller on the threshold. That means there's a dark side within us that's constantly trying to keep us on the dark side while the light side in us is, so there's a war going on inside of our members, so to speak. And so The Enemy Within, Elizabeth Clare Prophet, great reading. Get your hands on it. And for the next show, we'll talk a little bit about that, what a dweller is, and what is working in the realm of the media, Donald Trump, and all of these journalists who have things to say and where they get their information and how that ties into the dweller on the threshold and the carnal mind and all of these things. And as well, we'll bring some more prophecy to you. But ending this show, I just want to say that I do believe that Donald Trump was George Patton, and that's my prophecy, and that's, my 2 cents.
Thus spake Zarathustra.
Thus, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Great. It is a great ascended master.
Yeah. One of the best. So we'll see where this goes, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter.
Episode 3 on Donald Trump. We will be talking about him. We will follow him closely, and we will watch the stars of where he's going. I know where he's going, but I'm not going to tell you everything in one show. So
Okay.
Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you on our next show, or at least knowing that you're listening on our next show.
Absolutely, folks, and join us, and please, we'll take your comments, suggestions, and call-ins, and join us again.
So please do call in, do contact us, and that would be at studio at 5600beat.com. No, it's going to be the TrekUpwardRadioshow.com. The TrekUpwardRadioshow.com.
And we will both have those there for you. So, thank you, everybody.
Be sure and join us for our next show, because we're going to present prophecy at its best. It's going to be an amazing show. We're going to talk about the dark cycle of the Kali Yuga, which is from, I think, 2015 to 2025. And what that is mankind's returning karma coming down the pipeline fast and furiously. How's it going to hit you? Where are the hot spots in the world? And last but not least, is California in trouble? So please join us for our next show.
We'll also be talking about the economy, China, the U.S. dollar, and how markets will be affected by all of this prophecy on our next The Trek Upward Radio Show. The Trek Upward Radio Show is a studio at 5600feet.com production.